Years of working can slow you down, but this semi-retired man finds joy in getting out and helping the community. News 4's Bayla Walker introduces us to September's silent hero of the Wiregrass.
If you find yourself at the Alabama College of Osteopathic Medicine, you might run into Bruce Wozow. He is the vice chairman of the board of directors for the school. His main goal is the institution's success. The Ask for Native splits his time between the ACOM board of directors, the Southeast Health board of directors, and other organizations. You could say he's pretty busy.
I've been involved with volunteer activities for as long as I can remember. It's just my makeup. I'm a fix-it guy.
A fix-it guy who was all about identifying the problem and finding a solution, something he did for over 3 decades as a veterinarian.
Way back in high school, I always had an interest in medicine and animals and biology, and being a veterinarian fit right in there.
This was once Cottonwood Animal Clinic. The January 9th tornado ripped through the area, leaving pieces of it behind. It was owned and operated by Wozow for over 30 years, and there was a decision that needed to be made.
How do you close a business that you've been actively involved in for 33 years?
He chose not to rebuild.
That's the most heartbreaking part, when my clients still call me needing help, and very limited what I can do.
Limited does not mean helpless. Though Wozow's line of work may have slightly changed,
I love being involved here and getting out and doing something, helping folks out.
his heart remains the same. In Dothan, I'm Bayla Walker, your hometown news leader.
He refers to himself as semi-retired and doesn't plan to slow down anytime soon.